Good evening and welcome to the February 20th meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. To start the meeting, I just want to point out that the board will be making a motion to enter into executive session. That is a closed private session, so we'll be asking you all to please exit, and we'll be reconvening back into public hearing after that and taking up the rest of the agenda. So with that having been said, does anyone want to make a motion?
So I'll make a motion to go into executive section under Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, 21A3, to review and discuss pending litigation at Housing Appeals Committee, Mewad versus Falmouth Zoning Board of Appeals, 0 and 213 North Falmouth Highway, North Falmouth, Mass.
I'll second.
All right, and just to add on to that motion, we'll be entering back into,
We'll be entering back in to open session
Open session
after
after.
close of executive.
so the motion was made by Bob and second by Ed, and this requires a roll call vote to enter into the session. James, you want to start us off?
James Morse, aye.
Terrence Harry, aye?
Ed Van Kuren, aye.
Robert Dugan, aye.
Mary Berry, aye.
Okay, so we're entering into executive session. We'll just ask everyone to please leave for now. We'll re-enter into open session shortly. Thank you. Thank you all for your patience. I think we went a little further than we had originally anticipated with that executive session, but thank you once again for standing out in the hallway waiting for us. We'll be calling the open portion of the meeting back to order. Ask everyone to please silence their cell phones, and I will introduce the board at this time. On my right, your far left, is James Morse, who is an associate member of the board. My name is TJ Hurry. I'm the chair of the board. To my left is Ed Van Kuren, who is a full voting member, followed by Bob Dugan, who is the board's clerk, and Mary Berry, who is an associate member of the board. Also with us tonight is Noreen Stockman, who is the zoning administrator, and Ashley DeMello, who is the recording secretary for tonight. The Zoning Board of Appeals is charged with applying the zoning bylaws for the town, and we consider requests for special permits, variances, and appeals as provided in the town's bylaws, which have been approved by town meeting and the Attorney General's Office for the Commonwealth. All decisions the board makes are made through the public hearing process. The board's goal is to hear testimony from the applicant and from the public, and also to allow a full and fair discussion of the project prior to rendering a decision. To begin each hearing, the clerk will read the public announcement of the hearing and then present any pertinent information from the file, such as referrals from town departments and summarizing correspondences to the board. The applicant or the applicant's representative will then have 15 minutes to make a presentation, and time may be extended by vote of the board. The board will question the applicant, and the public will be invited to comment as well. Public comments should be directed only at the project itself, and we also ask you to please refrain from making any personal or derogatory statements. Public comment can include an opinion in favor or in opposition, or it might just simply be a question about the nature of the project. The chair will limit discussion in the interest of time in the event that comments become repetitive. All members of the public wishing to speak should wait to be recognized by the chair and come to the podium. We also ask you to please state your name and address for the record. And we typically limit public comment to 2 minutes per person. The hearing will then close or be continued if the board is satisfied that enough information has been presented by testimony and in the file to make a decision by motion and vote of the board. The hearing would be closed. And the alternative, the board may continue the hearing to a future date and time. After the hearing is closed, no more testimony may be taken. And as for board discussion and decision, the board may then further discuss the project among ourselves and make a motion to deny or approve would be made and voted upon. The motion will include a summary of key findings and conditions. An affirmative vote of 4 members, which is a supermajority, is required for approvals of motions on special permits, variances, and appeals. A split vote, such as a 3-2 vote, would be a failure to carry and would result in denial of the project. Under Massachusetts general law, if a special permit is denied, the applicant cannot return to the board for 2 years unless the project is substantially different. So turning to our agenda for the night, we've already dealt with executive session. We have public comment, 2 continuations, 5 new hearings, and open meeting items. This public comment first is for anything that's not on the agenda. So is there anyone out there wishing to speak on something that is not on the agenda tonight? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our continuations. We have application 83-19 BMFB Falmouth LLC.
So actually, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to take an open meeting item out of order,
My apologies, yep.
which is open meeting item number 2, review request for insubstantial change regarding 90-17 Helmus Circle LLC, Helmus Circle, 7 lots off Worcester Court, Elmer Road, Falmouth, which is a comprehensive permit, minor modifications to the previously approved plan.
Okay, so that is a motion to take that item out of order. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion was made by Bob and second by Ed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Do we have a representative for application 90-17?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Ilana Quirk, an attorney with Freeman Law Group, and with me tonight is Brian Moynihan, Kelleher, and Joe Penny, the engineer. And so we're here, I hope, with a very quick matter for the board. I believe that at least 3 of the members who are here tonight sat on this matter some time ago, the comprehensive permit at issue this evening was issued by the board back in 2013. It's been under appeal since that time. However, it was called for trial recently, and the parties have reached a tentative agreement, subject to us coming back to the board to show you some very minor changes to the plan. Any changes to the plan need to at least be presented to the board. However, it is our position that it is simply an insubstantial modification that does not require a public hearing. If you have looked at the materials that have been provided to you, essentially what's proposed is that 3 of the lots, which are down by Little Pond, are going to be moved and moved 30 to 40 feet forward, closer to the roadway. And the reason for that is that the plaintiffs wanted to make sure that they had some level of enforcement authority over the conditions essentially that would be out there for the town to impose in any event with regard to the wetlands restrictions. And so that is what is before the board. You have our letter that sets out exactly what these changes in setbacks are. There are no new waivers needed, no additional units, no additional height, no additional bedrooms, no increases in any nonconformities. And so this should be, I would hope, a very straightforward matter. I actually gave to the zoning administrator a sample motion that you could use this evening based upon the letter and the chart that we've given to you that shows the changes to the setbacks that are at issue to move the 3 houses forward, and also to alter the site plan, sheet 6 of the site plan that was approved back in 2013. So it is a very simple matter. The court remanded this matter back to the board to hold this public meeting this evening so that the board could look at these items and make a determination as to whether they are substantial or insubstantial. And again, we believe very strongly it's simply an insubstantial modification. And if the board agrees and so votes this evening, then that is the end of the matter. And so I can entertain any questions that you may have and bring up the engineer if that's necessary.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
No questions.
Any questions? No? Okay.
All right, so then I'll make a motion for insubstantial change, that under 760 CMR 56.0511 and 760 CMR 56.074, that the modifications for the project known as Little Pond Village at Falmouth Heights, CP number 90-17, project, which is set forth in the February 10th, 2020 notice of project change letter, which was attached as Exhibit 1. 2, the project site plan consisting of 1 sheet prepared by Dupree Engineering as revived through 2/7/2020, attached as Exhibit 2. And 3, the Little Pond Village at Falmouth Heights lot area and setback chart as revised through February 19th, 2020, attached as Exhibit 23, Exhibit 3. Collectively, the NOPC are insubstantial in nature, and therefore the comprehensive permit issued for the project and filed with the town clerk on August 24th, 2013, is hereby modified as set forth in the NOPC.
Okay, so that was the motion. Is there a second?
Second it.
Second by Ed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Need to appoint alternates tonight.
Mhm. Okay, so moving on with our continuations. Now we have application 83-19, BMFB Falmouth LLC, 876 East Falmouth Highway in East Falmouth.
It's my understanding that that application has withdrawn?
Yes, so there should be a note. Was a request to withdraw that petition.
Can speak to that if you need me to.
Attorney Clower?
Good evening. For the record, Kevin Clower, attorney here in Falmouth. I represent the applicant. We have submitted a request for withdrawal without prejudice.
So I'd make a motion to accept the request to withdraw without prejudice.
Second it.
Okay, motion was made by Bob and second by Ed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Moving on, we have application 72-19 Mullen, 410 Surf Drive in Falmouth. And I believe there may be a request for a continuance. And if that's the case, we'll need the applicant's representative to execute an
Yes,
extension.
so there is a letter in the file that says the applicant, John Mullen, hereby requests a continuation of the hearing presently scheduled for Thursday, February 20th, 2020, until Thursday, March 5th, 2020.
And do we have that extension in the file?
We have an extension to sign.
Happy to sign it.
Very good. All right, would anyone like to make that motion?
So I'll make a motion to accept the continuance to Thursday, March 5th, 2020.
Second it.
Okay, motion was made by Bob and second by Ed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, now we have, moving on to our new hearings, we have application 94-19 Haney, 13 Ironwood Lane in North Falmouth. Just wait for Bob to read everything into the record.
So application number 94-19, being all persons deemed affected by the Board of Appeals under Section 11 of Chapter 48 of the Mass General Laws, you are hereby notified that Ronald J. and Lori A. Haney of North Falmouth, Mass. have applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit pursuant to Sections 240-69E of the Code of Falmouth to construct a screen porch to proposed dwelling, which is exceeding 20% lot coverage by structures on subject property known as 13 Ironwood Lane, North Falmouth, Mass. For referrals, assessors, no comment. Water Department, not applicable. Planning Board, no comment. Fire Department, no comment. Health Department, no issues with the project. And no comments from engineering.
All right, and for the purposes of not just this hearing, but the all new hearings tonight, I'll be appointing James and Mary as voting members. So for the applicant tonight,
Hi, my name is Mary Beth Wadman, and I'm representing Ronald and Laurie Haney, who couldn't be here tonight. And they are building a new home at 13 Ironwood Lane, and they have a deck planned for the back of the house, and they decided that they would like to put a roof and screen it in, which makes it part of the structure of the house. And when the lot coverage was recalculated with this screened structure, it came out to be 20.87% of the lot coverage. And so they're respectfully asking if the Board of Appeals would allow them to have the screened porch added to the back of the house.
okay.
I have a disc, someone told me I should bring a disc of plans, and the plot plan, I don't know if you need that or not.
We do have our hard copies here.
Okay, good.
Yep. Would you like to turn it to board questions, see if we have anything?
Oh, I'm certainly pleased. Do you have any questions I can help you with?
Mary, do you have any questions?
No questions at this time.
All right, Bob,
No questions.
Ed,
No questions, pretty straightforward.
James?
No questions.
No questions. I don't have any questions either. I'm usually good for at least one. All right, we will turn it to public comment. Does anyone out there have any questions, comments, concerns regarding this project? Anyone at all? Okay, seeing none, back to the board.
I guess just one quick question. So on the screen porch now, that's an additional roof line they're adding to it?
Correct. If it doesn't get approved, then they would go just to a simple deck that wouldn't have a roof attached to it.
And we normally have comments by engineering, but we didn't. Do you know if they have gutters on the new roof line? Or any dry wells?
I don't know.
That's all I have.
All right. How would the board like to proceed?
So I'll make a motion to approve.
Second it?
Okay, motion approved by Bob, and that's second by Ed. Findings?
Property is adding a screen porch to the bracket is only raising the lot coverage minimally to 20.87. It'll increase utilization of the space. I think we should also put in there that there are no comments from engineering.
Fair. Anything else for findings?
It will be a screen porch only, so it's not habitable space.
Any conditions?
Per plans, 240-69E, 240-216, not substantially more detrimental. There's nothing shown on the plan. I would like to make sure that there are gutters leading to dry wells for any of the roof runoff for the new roof area. And no runoff should go to any adjacent parcels or public roadways. And that the space is a three-season screen porch, so currently it's not year-round habitable space.
All right. Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right, so the motion to approve was made by Bob and second by Ed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, up next, we have application 92-19, Andrade, 8 Anders Lane in East Falmouth.
So application number 92-19, being all persons deemed affected by the Board of Appeals under Section 11 of Chapter 40A of the Mass General Laws, you are hereby notified that Christian P. Andrade and Kevin P. Andrade of East Falmouth, Mass. Have applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit pursuant to Sections 240-38G of the Code of Falmouth to allow a third garage bay on subject property known as 8 Anders Lane, East Falmouth. We do have a comment from Scott McGann, the health agent, that the garage footprint shown to be 11 feet from the soil absorption system exceeding the 10-foot setback to a slab foundation in Title V. Engineering. 1, the application was reviewed for impacts to public rights-of-way and public utilities. Anders Lane is a private right-of-way in this area. 2, the proposed plans appear to have no impacts on the abutting town of Falmouth parcel. 3, the project must not direct any stormwater runoff to public property, abutters, or public rights-of-way. 4, we recommend that the board add a condition that requires the addition of dry wells, rain garden, or other stormwater infiltration measures for the roof area at a minimum. 5, any connections or alterations to public utilities would require permission from the appropriate town department. 6, we recommend adding the following condition on the application, which is upon completion of construction, the applicant shall post the address for the residence per Section 99-1, affixing of legible numbers required in time for compliance. Concom, it's out of their jurisdiction. Water Department, no comment. Planning Department, no comment. Fire Department, no comment. Assessors Department, no comment.
Okay, and for the applicant tonight?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, my name is Kevin Clower. I'm an attorney with Ahmed Clower Law Firm here in Falmouth, and I represent the applicants Christian Andrade and Kevin Andrade, the owners of 8 Anders Lane. Though it's owned by Christian and Kevin, the house itself is actually for Christian and his wife Stephanie and their children. They're looking to construct a 3-car garage, which is slightly over the 900 square foot threshold. The property, 8 Andrews Lane, is part of a 5-lot subdivision on the westerly side of Sandwich Road. It's on a lot of slightly over an acre at almost 46,000 square feet, and it's zoned AGA. They're currently in the process of construction on the house. It's a 2.5-story, 4-bedroom home. I'm in front of you guys on a pretty regular basis, and I've represented a lot of different people, and you don't always get to pick your clients, but this is a good client, and it's a good project. Christian grew up here in Falmouth, moved back to town. He and his wife Stephanie are raising 3 beautiful daughters, and unfortunately, his oldest daughter is not that far away from driving, so they're looking at a point where they're going to need to have more garage space. The proposed garage is, again, 931 square feet. It's, again, slightly over that threshold. There's no standards set forth in the bylaw for the issuance of a special permit for a 3-car garage, which means we look at the standards of 240-216. This project, and you have to ask whether or not the project has any, whether the proposed use has adverse effects which overbalance the beneficial effects to the neighborhood and to the town. And there's really no adverse effects to this proposal. There's only one other home developed in the subdivision. That home actually has a 4-car garage. And that home is owned by Kevin Andrade, Christian's father, and the other applicant in this matter. The lot is more than adequate in size, and the garage does not change the proposed use. The lot size is suitable for the use. There's no impact on traffic flow or safety, and there's no impact on the neighborhood visual character. I'd be happy to address any questions the board may have at this time, but I believe that the board can certainly issue a special permit if they choose to do so.
Okay, board questions? James?
No questions.
Ed?
No questions.
Bob?
No, no question.
Mary?
No questions.
So the extra bay is for the,
Just,
the new
it's-
dri- the new
it's
driver
good.
on the left.
They're gonna need it.
Yep, okay,
You know, sooner or later, they're gonna need it.
all right.
And I'd rather do it now, while they're in the construction process, than after the fact.
It's something I always like to ask, what's the purpose of the 3rd bay? And I think that's the first time we've heard that one. It's usually for boats or,
Motorcycles.
yeah, motorcycles and antique cars. All right. Yeah. Any questions from the board? All right. Any questions, comments, concerns from members of the public? Seeing none, back to the board.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Okay, motion approved by James and second by Ed. Findings.
Give it for Bob, you got the file.
Oh, I actually don't look at the file when I do them, that's okay. Property is a single-family, 4-bedroom home. The addition of the 3rd bay is not going to add any square footage. The addition is doing for just extra utilization for the family. Should probably add in the findings, just the comments by Scott McGann.
Actually, we didn't close the hearing, so, and I did have an additional question because of that. Attorney Clower, the Board of Health comment, would you have to seek variance, or? what's
No,
going-
I think he said it
No, he said it
exceeds the
exceeds.
Oh,
threshold.
it
exceeds.
exceeds, all right, well, I got that wrong.
So no.
Very
No
good.
variance. Not the B word.
Anything else for findings?
No, I think that's it.
How about conditions?
Per plans.
Require dry wells,
Dry wells for at least the new roof area.
Well, there is no roof area.
The same square footage. Third door and bay.
Mm.
I think that was a comment. One of their comments.
Well, because it was a comment on the engineering, I would just say gutters and dry wells for the project.
Yeah.
Multiple numbers.
240-38G, 240-216, not substantially more detrimental, increases the utilization of the property. Yeah, the section 99-1, affixing of legible numbers.
All right, anything else?
I guess just per plans.
for plans. All right, so that motion to approve was made by James and second by Ed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, up next, we have application 96-19, March, 94 Nantucket Ave in Falmouth.
So application number 96-19, being all persons deemed affected by the Board of Appeals under Section 11 of Chapter 48 of the Mass General Laws, you're hereby notified that David March of Watertown, Mass. has applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit pursuant to Sections 240-3C and 240-68A of the Code of Falmouth to renovate the existing dwelling and construct a second-floor addition on subject property known as 94 Nantucket Ave, Falmouth, Mass. From Concom, the proposed project has been approved by the Conservation Department. If the foundation requires repair, the applicant must refile with Concom. Engineering. The application was reviewed for impacts to public rights-of-way and public utilities. Nantucket Ave is a public right-of-way in this area. No alterations are proposed to the right-of-way. Any changes within the right-of-way would require filing a permit with the Engineering Division. Nantucket Ave and Grand Ave are narrow, and this is a very small lot. In the interest of safety, we recommend the condition be added to any approval that no construction materials, dumpsters, or other construction-related items be placed in the public right-of-way. Also, Nantucket Ave and Grand Ave should not be blocked off at any time without prior approval and coordination with the police department. 2, any connections or alterations to public utilities would require permission from the appropriate town department. 3, the project must not direct any stormwater runoff to public property abutters or public rights-of-way. 4, we assume that this project is or was before Conservation Commission. We defer to the Commission on erosion and sediment controls and the use of dry wells or other infiltration measures. We also recommend adding the following condition, including approval, which is Section 99(1), the fixing of legible numbers. Assessors Department, no comment. Water Department, not applicable. Fire Department, no comment. Planning Department, no comment. Health Department, no issues with the Health Department. The property is on sewer, and there was no increase in bedroom count, which is 3, based on the plans that they have been provided. And that's all we have.
Okay, and for the applicant?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. For the record, my name is Patrick Roach from Holmes and McGrath. We are representing the applicant, David March. The property is located in Falmouth Heights at number 94, Nantucket Ave. The applicant is requesting a special permit to construct a second-floor addition to the existing dwelling. The property has been developed as a single-family residence since 1960. The dwelling is pre-existing, non-conforming. The structure does not meet the required 25-foot front yard setback. The nonconformity is 7 feet from this building corner here to the street line, Nantucket Ave. We did submit revised plot plans that show, previously it was shown as 7.3 feet, but it's 7.0 feet for the setback. And the other revision was on the back side here. It was shown as 15.3 to the rear lot line. It's actually 15.2. So we did submit those corrections. The purpose of the project is there's an existing dwelling that they want to renovate the first floor and construct the second floor. And I can show you the architecturals. So The existing layout down here is a living room, kitchen, bath, and 3 bedrooms. What they're proposing is an open floor plan on the first floor and moving the bedrooms to the second floor. The structure is currently at 26.3% for lot coverage, which makes the existing structure still non-conforming. The maximum allowed is 20%. The proposed structure will have a lower yet still non-conforming lot coverage of 25.9%. Lot coverage by structures, paving, and parking will be 36.2, still under the maximum allowable of 40%. The existing building height shown in this photo here is at approximately 12 feet 8 inches. The proposed, I'll go back to the architecturals. So they're proposing the height of 30 feet 5 inches. As mentioned, the existing dwelling is served by municipal sewer and water. No change in use, no increase in flow. The project was presented and approved by Conservation Commission. And we believe that this project could be approved and will be in harmony with the neighborhood. And if there's any questions,
All right,
I'll answer.
see if there are any questions. Mary, anything?
Yeah, when I went on the site visit, there's a house in back of this house.
Mhm.
When you construct this as you have it planned, what will that do to the view of the water from that house?
From the bulk calculations that were done, it was in our opinion that there wouldn't be any adverse conditions regarding vista views or things of that nature. So it would be consistent with the surrounding properties in that neighborhood.
I guess when you state that, can you explain to me how you arrived at that conclusion, that would not result in blocking the views and vistas of that house that is in back?
Well, if I may, is this the property that you're referring to in the back here? Because additionally, there is,
Where's the water? It would
So
be
this
their water view. is
this
the
would
way-
be directly across the street on Nantucket Ave. And this previous picture here, this is directly behind.
Okay, so if you're in that house, that's the higher heighted house.
Well, I believe
Where
this-
is the water? Can you show me?
It would be,
Over there.
yes.
Yeah, so that's the one I saw.
See if I have, so here you can see the roof line of that house. And this is a picture from the back side. So when I went out to the site, it appeared that that second floor deck on the house behind was their view is from the backyard of this house here, so I think that was the determination as to the vista views. If that helps your
No, if you're going to put a second floor on there, and it's going to be 30 feet 5 inches tall, are you telling me that that was not going to block the
I don't
views
know,
and
I don't
vistas?
know the height of the abutting house.
Well,
but-
my look at it was that it certainly appeared like their view and vista would be blocked by a second floor being added.
Again, the scope of the work is consistent with what's been approved in that neighborhood. Most of seems like a lot of the houses in that neighborhood have put on second floor additions, or they were either perhaps tear down rebuilds, and they went with a full 2-story height.
Anything else, Mary?
Not at this time.
Bob?
Yes, I have a question. So is this house being raised at all due to floodplain?
It's within the floodplain, so they're not altering the floor space.
But
They're
is
not,
that why the heights, because you're going over 30 feet?
well, the mean elevation that exists for the lot is at elevation 8, so,
But you're not doing any raise at all due to floodplain?
no.
That's all I have.
No question. James, anything?
Is this a cinder block and slab, or is there a basement?
It's a cinder block and crawl space.
Thank you.
Yep, and they are, the architecturals do show that they're providing, I believe, flood vents for the crawl space.
Thank you.
So the existing structure, that can support a second floor as proposed?
There is a detail here in the piers. So what they're gonna do is take out portions of the block crawl space and support it with concrete piers.
And the shed on the property, that's going to be remaining?
Yes.
And I guess just to phrase Bob's question a little differently, since you're in the flood zone, this doesn't trigger the FEMA regulations in terms of like lifting the house up to increase, to
It's
get
in
it
an
out of the
A
flood
zone, so it's outside of the velocity zone. If it was in the velocity zone, then they would be required to elevate the structure. But because it exists in the A zone, it's not required to be above the elevation 13.
And how many beds are proposed?
3 exist, so they're just moving the 3-bedroom, so they're not changing the bedroom count. Again, there's no increase in flow for the house to the tie into the sewer.
And engineering did have the comment about storing all materials on site, that can be done. And there was additional language about essentially not blocking off Grand Ave and Nantucket Ave. So all construction vehicles will be off of those roads.
To the best of my knowledge,
All right.
that's, we will convey that to the builder.
Thank you.
Comment from Concom about the foundation.
Yeah, so Concom put if there's any issues with the foundation, they would have to go back to Concom if it requires any kind of repair. And that's why I guess my question on do we have any kind of a stamped letter that says it definitely will carry the second floor? Because if not, then we're looking at a raise and not a renovation.
I don't have a letter from a structural engineer.
We have had some other issues where we didn't, and then they ended up having to raise the houses because they found out they couldn't do the second floor.
Okay.
So that might be something that the board may want to get.
Are you able to obtain one of those letters?
I'm not even sure if the architect has consulted a structural engineer. We're basing this solely on the structure, the architectural plans. Maybe I can zoom in on. So it appears that they are proposing quite a few of these concrete piers. These little black boxes here.
Any additional questions?
Yeah, I had one. Your reduction in lot coverage, where do you get that reduction?
So on the back side of this existing we have this little roof line and this landing. So that's going to be removed, and in its place, they're going to remove the roof line, and it's just going to be a landscape slab for the landing. So that removal of the roof line will reduce, and the existing landing will reduce the lot coverage on the structure.
And what is the square footage of the lot?
The 3,400, yeah, 3,442, so it's a small lot.
Thank you.
And again, they're not building outside of the existing footprint. The reduction is that roof line. This brick landing in the front is actually being removed, and a smaller landing is going to be placed here with a couple of paver steppers. And again, back there, that proposed landing on the architecturals, they're showing that it's supposed to be of landscape material.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Public comment. Any questions, comments, concerns from members of the public regarding this project? Anyone at all? Okay, seeing none, back to the board.
So I don't know if you want to have a discussion, but my one concern is that this is a renovation, adding a second floor. And I know we've had other projects where we didn't have a letter, and then they ended up raising the structure. So I wouldn't feel comfortable on voting on it without having something from an engineer saying that it will support the second floor.
You know, there's a pier detail shown, but that's
Not,
It's
and it's not stamped or anything, so I
not
don't.
stamped, yeah.
Right. Any other concerns about the project other than
My only
that
concern is
potential
this
letter?
foundation.
All right.
I have concerns about the vista being blocked from the other home in the back.
So is there anything that you would like to see regarding that, if we continued it for that information?
Yeah, I would.
Perhaps some more photographic documentation showing
Right.
that the vista view from the backyard, showing where the abutter's second floor deck is located. Perhaps a picture would show that.
Some kind of reference of,
Yeah,
we can
so
look
I
at
mean, the expansion is going up and
Right.
not out. So if they already have a view along the back corridor of the backyard, then it's not going to be impeded by the project. But if it'll please the board, we can supplement some information.
Sure. So we would be looking at a continuance. Noreen, I'm looking at the schedule. Would March 19th be the next available? I know that 5th looks a little busy. When are you coming back?
I'll be back on the 19th.
Okay. Oh, you'll be here for the 19th?
Yes, I'm not here on the 5th.
Oh, okay,
Oh, good.
okay. Yep.
Was the 19th okay?
Brian, is the 19th okay?
So then-
Are you available the 19th? You think you can together by?
I should be. If not, someone from my office will be.
All right.
No, we
I will
really
try.
need those, we just need those 2 items, so would
Okay, so just to reiterate, it's,
something from a structural engineer that it will carry the 2nd floor,
okay.
and then reference material regarding any effects on the views of the butters behind. So then I make a motion to continue this to March 9th, is it 19th?
March 19th.
To March 19th.
All right, motion was made by Bob.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by, I'll give that to Mary. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a different package.
Oh, that's in the pile.
Up next, we have application 90-19, Rapucci, 24 Prospect Street in Falmouth. And,
I'm going to be recusing from that one.
okay,
We have to appoint,
all right, so
maybe Ed as clerk.
you'll be recusing. I'll be appointing Ed as clerk.
I'll be back for that.
Sounds good.
What's up?
Ready when you are.
Being all persons deemed affected by the Board of Appeals under Section 11, Chapter 40A, of Massachusetts General Laws, you are hereby notified that Paul J. Pucci of Lincoln, Mass. Applied for zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit pursuant to Section 243C of the Code of Falmouth to construct an addition to the 2nd floor of the dwelling and allow office space on the 2nd floor with a detached garage with a new deck, stairway on subject property known as 24 Prospect Street, Falmouth, Mass. Engineering, standard comments about runoff. Conservation Commission, outside construction, no, that's no problem. Water Department, no comment. Assessors, no. The assessors requested an inspection prior to completion. Planning, no comment. Health, no comment. Fire Department, no comment. That's it.
Okay, and just before we begin the hearing, we're down to 4 members on this project, so an affirmative vote would need to be unanimous. So with that having been said,
Okay, good evening. My name's Paul Rapucci, 24 Prospect Street. My wife and I bought this property in October of last year, end of October. It's an old house built in 1930. We actually are very familiar with Falmouth. I've been coming to Falmouth since I was a boy, and my parents have lived in Falmouth since the 70s. I have a sister that lives in Falmouth Heights, and I have another sister that lives in Kentuit, so this area is very familiar to us. My wife and I are hoping to renovate this house and consider living down here permanently within the 5 years. So this house is built in 1930. We bought it. It was a 2-family house. It was granted a special permit by this board back in April of '96. It's not a large house. It's only 1428 square feet. It has a first floor unit of 900 square feet, a second floor unit of 528 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, It also has a detached one-car garage with a second story above. I understand that that detached garage used to be rented by the previous owners, and when they got the special permit to make it a legal two-family, they discontinued the use of that apartment that's above the second, above the garage. I've hired architect William Rolansky in Woods Hole and engineer C.E. Landers Cawley of Falmouth to help me with this project. You can see it's a twin house to our neighbors, number 26. The previous owners did a little renovations to it. On the outside, it doesn't look too bad. It's badly need of repairs on the inside. They enclosed some of the garage, some of the front porch to make a bedroom there. And this is the back side of the house. One of the concerns that we have is currently for that second story, there's no second egress at all. The egress would have to be through this window out here onto the roof, and it's quite a safety concern. I understand that the previous owner, per this board, was supposed to obtain a legal egress, and he never did. So this second floor has no second egress. So it's a safety concern for occupants. My wife and I have 6 children, and we're going to be using this for them to enjoy, and without a second egress, it's kind of a safety concern to us. We are proposing addition on this back section, on this single-story section. It's a proposed 15 by 16 addition above the existing structure. It would be a living room or a family room for that second floor unit. And this will enable a new egress. As you'll see in the plans, it allows for a new deck and a new egress stairway. So I have the existing view here showing that back and from the left side, and the proposal is just to go straight up with a second story here with a small deck and a stairway coming down. This is an existing view of the plans. As you can see, that front porch, they created a bedroom here, and they put up a temporary wall to create this bedroom. I'm actually going to remove that to remove that bedroom. And you can see in the proposed view, that wall is taken down. And this area up here shows the new living room for the second floor unit. I had the site plan done, as I said, and in order to make up for the coverage here, I'm actually decreasing the coverage slightly on the property. There's a slight overhang of this deck, only 3 feet, and then a stairway down. And in order to make up for that coverage, we are removing a large deck that's existing on the garage and a stairway. So I have the site plan here, but to better illustrate that, this shows the existing deck and stairway on the detached garage, and this is the proposal of a small deck with a stairway going down. So I'm essentially eliminating all this deck and this stairway. The views from the front really do not change at all. The front of the house remains unchanged. This is that detached garage structure that I was talking about. We've already had to have some work done to this because it was badly leaking, badly in need of repairs. So we had a new roof put on it, and it's a 14 by 22 structure. It's a second floor with it has a common area with a 3/4 bath. As I said, it was previously used as an apartment out there, and it was disallowed by the special permit of 1996. One thing I have to correct on the application was it said I wanted to use this for office space, and that is, I don't know how that got written up that way. I do not want to use it for office space. We want to use it just for home office or an exercise room. We just want to be able to use the room above there. And this previous special permit said it could only be used for storage. So we just are looking to utilize that space. And I talked to Scott McCann of the Board of Health. He said if you are granted use of that space, he would classify it as a bedroom, And for Title V purposes, he said it was okay as long as you removed the bedroom. And as I showed you earlier, I am removing a bedroom on the first floor. So this is the layout of the garage as it exists. It's just a one-car garage on the bottom. The second has a common area with a bath up there. So my proposed changes, I'm adding the new second-story addition, a living room, a new second-story egress deck and stairway, replacing and reducing the garage deck and stairs. I'm removing that first-floor unit, the bedroom unit, and I'm asking for use of the second-floor garage for home office or exercise space. So the house remains a two-family with the 3 bedrooms. New addition will improve the utilization of that second-floor unit by adding a living room. New deck in the stairway solves the egress issues that are there, and it eliminates the safety concerns. The coverage by structures decreases slightly from 29.38% to 29.3%, and the reason it's decreasing, as I stated, is I'm removing that large deck. No changes are required to the septic as the Title V is passed for the 3 bedrooms, and there's no impact to the visual character of the neighborhood or the view from the roadway. We're not affecting the front facade of the property at all. We're going to be doing some general updates of the heat-in, the air conditioning systems of the house. The kitchens and baths are badly in need of renovation, and I think we can really positively impact the neighborhood by, bringing this house up to code and, up to date in many ways.
Okay, we'll turn it to board questions if you're all set with your presentation.
That's all I have.
James, do you have anything to start us off?
Do, is your driveway currently shared, or where is the lot line? I noticed that,
It is a shared driveway with number 26.
As an engineer weighed in, I see that the addition is above the portion of the house that appears to be the crawl space and has cinder block. Is there an engineer believe that the addition is going to be able to be supported by what's there? Or you gonna have to-
I do not have an engineer. My architect, I believe, has some engineering degree, and I believe he has the capabilities to comment on structure. I know he has some certain credentials. He did not give me anything in that regard. He didn't seem to indicate there was any issues there.
My only concern is that if suddenly you're going to have to pour a foundation that's going to add a significant level of complexity given the buildings being on top of one another. The space above the garage, you want to use that essentially as, it's going to be treated by the Board of Health as a bedroom? Is that what you stated?
Well, when I talked to Scott, he said that I said, it's not going to be used as an apartment, it's not going to be used as a bedroom. He said, well, for Title V purposes, I would classify it as a bedroom. That's what he said. And since I'm removing a bedroom, he was okay with it. He reviewed the plans and he was fine with it.
Is your intention to use it as either a gym or home office?
My wife is a lawyer. She'd like to start doing work down here in Falmouth. She wants to use it as a home office mostly, not for entertaining clients, but just to use as a separate space outside of the main house.
I guess the concern normally is when I see 3/4 baths is that fortunately, there can be over time a creep. Would you be agreeable to reducing it just to a half bath?
Sure.
Anything else, James?
Nope, thank you.
All right, Ed,
Nothing.
Mary?
Yeah, could you tell us what is your square footage of the lot?
I don't have the exact square footage. I believe it's 4,700 square feet.
Okay, and are you not sewered?
No, I'm not sewered, no. I have a septic. It's past Title V septic.
And where is that located?
Located, as you can see in this diagram, it's located in the backyard here.
And where is the opening for the garage? Where do the cars go into the garage, or do they?
The garage is not going to be used to house cars. It really is not, it's not feasible to really pull cars into this garage because of the way of the driveway and the yard. The yard goes right through here, so we're not gonna really use the garage to pull cars into the
So
driveway.
where do the cars go to get parked? For six, is it six family members?
6 family members.
Yeah.
There's parking on the street and there's parking in the shared driveway. I'm not sure I understand your question.
So you're going to be parking cars on the shared driveway? Is that correct?
Yes?
And, you know, I read through the April 1996 appeal, and I thought it said that the bathrooms had to come out of that second floor.
The bathrooms were disconnected, that's correct.
They are
They
disconnected.
are disconnected,
I
yes.
see, but they exist. And what is a
Yes.
three-quarters bathroom? What's that mean?
It has a shower, it has a shower, a sink and a toilet.
Okay. And also, I also thought that it mentioned in there that it prohibited the use of boarders or a home occupation that would create additional traffic.
We're strictly using it as a home office space. We're not increasing the foot traffic or.
Any other questions, Mary?
Well, I think that does it.
All right,
Thank you.
you're welcome. And I had some questions about the garage, but
Sure.
James is, I think James covered that. So we'll just
Yeah.
turn to,
What is the first floor of the garage currently being used for if it's not being used for cars?
It's just used for storage, as a
Storage.
typical garage would be used, yeah.
Thank you.
we'll turn it to public comment. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns regarding this project? Ma'am? You like, you just,
Janice Goodell.
sure, come up to the, if you come up to the podium, give your name and address, and you.
20 Prospect Street. I live next door to this property, and I've lived there for more than 50 years. And I trust what he has to say. I don't know this gentleman, but I've experienced people living in those apartments when there was no owner in residence in this house, and it was a nightmare. You were going to retire there, is that what you're saying?
Well, we'd like to retire and
So we.
What's
you-
going to happen
You
to?
ask your questions to the
what is go-
board,
What
and
is
then
going to
he'll
happen
address
to the
them
two
after.
apartments when this gentleman is not there?
Okay.
This is a very small street, a very small neighborhood. Parking in cars are a disaster on this street. There is a rental house across the street from us, which is no problem at all during the winter months, but in the summertime, it's all I can do to get out of my driveway. And if there are additional cars parked on the street, they're going to be in front of my property. I'm sorry, with 6 children, that's going to be, I'm not saying they'll all be there at the same time, but it sounds like a lot of cars to me. And as was mentioned by Ms. Sperry, the garage, when it was built for the owner to use only as an apartment when she had guests, because she didn't have room in the main house. And she promised it. Nobody's going to stay up there except me. But people did. And the bathroom was illegal. It was told that it had to be removed from the garage. It said there could be 3 bedrooms according to your last filing of this board. And they all had to be in the main house. And there was not supposed to be any changes to the exterior. This additional upstairs will eliminate any privacy I have on my back deck, and will also cut off a lot of light from my back of my house.
And if you don't mind, if I could ask you a question, where exactly do you live?
I live just, not on the driveway side, but on the other side, and his house sits 3 feet from our property line.
Okay, so if you're looking at that map, you're lot 24, maybe? You're on that side?
I'm number 20,
Mhm.
Second.
and he's 24. And that's my
This is our
house.
house.
Okay, to the left there. Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Does anyone else have any questions, comments, concerns? Well, sir, would you like to speak? Do you have any questions? Sure, go ahead.
TJ, can I just say something?
Welcome to our quiet little street. Jim McCarty, 48 Prospect Street, just a couple of doors down to, heading toward the beach. Did I understand you to say that you did not want to rent the place out, that you were going to retire there? And
Again, sir, you have to direct your
Ah,
comments and
you're right.
questions to the board, and he'll be happy to address anything after.
Okay. And I can certainly echo the concerns that Janice had. I remember those days. And we certainly don't want to go back there. The police are over at that house pretty much every day, sometimes more than once a day. The driveway, I'm not sure I know the difference between a right-of-way and a shared driveway, but I always consider that to be a right-of-way. So, and without really safe parking on Prospect Street, I have to wonder, where we can find adequate parking to help this man. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. And I saw a hand raised in the back, sir?
Nice to meet you.
My name is Todd Davis. I'm here on behalf of my mother-in-law, who owns the property abutting Paul's property at 55 Counting House Way. I'm here to convey to the board her concerns about this project. The last time there was a special permit, the board previously found that both structures are non-conforming and they don't meet the required setback areas. It's my mother-in-law's position that she doesn't feel like the application for a special permit demonstrates a hardship. The residence is in a residentially zoned area, and she feels that granting a special permit for an office, now, 1 minute it's an office, the next minute it's a bedroom, and the detached garage, that this would require a business use group. We're very concerned about, about this could have far-reaching ramifications whereby a business could be operated out of the garage, which is not zoned for. The previous decision by the board was that there would be no changes to the exterior residence, as this lady alluded to, other than normal repairs or replacement parts, with the exception of any necessary egress required by the building code. We are not opposed to any normal repairs, but we are concerned about any additions that are in conflict with the previous decision of the zoning board. The previous ruling of the zoning board determined that the detached garage shall be used only for parking. And that's been stated here numerous times. And that the only plumbing allowed in that building would be a sink and/or a spigot in the first floor. The bathroom fixtures for the second floor were supposed to have been removed. Paul's saying that's still there. This is in contrast to the previous ruling regarding the garage use in the plumbing for what Paul is espousing that he wants to use it for. Also, there was mention of borders. There shall be no taking on of borders in this property as it would normally be allowed in the zoning district. This is right out of the ruling from the last zoning hearing on this property. Yeah, who is to say that in the future that this office can't be rented out? Paul could sell the house, I mean, he could mean to be here for 5 or 10 years, but circumstances could change. He could say, hey, listen, it's not worth the hassle. We want to move, and now we're stuck with having to deal with an office/bedroom in a building that it was never intended to have. It also said that there should be no more than 2 dwellings on this site, and they're supposed to be both in the principal structure, which will be, that was the ruling that the zoning board made, which was the house proper. It says the addition of an office in the garage would contradict this previous decision made by the zoning board. My mother-in-law said in summation, she wants to be a good neighbor. She welcomes all new folks to the neighborhood. This property's been in the family for over 53 years, spanning 4 generations. She feels like the previously approved special permit addressed the concerns of the landowner and does not believe that there is sufficient evidence for hardship for this proposed project. She's opposed to the application of the construction of the addition and the second floor use as an office in the garage as it is residentially zoned. She is also opposed to any other use other than what was previously ruled on as an area for parking vehicles and storage. Paul's proposal to fix the existing deck, we can see the proximity of the deck. It basically overlooks our property, and it's kind of awkward if somebody's on the deck. We prefer that it's not there, but obviously it's there. His proposal to actually make it smaller is better, but we feel like the use of that room up there on the second floor is going to infringe on our privacy inordinately, and also that it's in conflict with a previous decision by the zoning board. I would like to thank the zoning board for the opportunity to express my mother-in-law's concern, and we would like to handle this amicably because we want to be good neighbors, but we don't want that detached garage to become a spot where it could be a possible apartment. It would be very simple to convert that once the proposed additions are done to that, to make that an apartment, either illegal or illegal. And down the line, that could just, when he sells the property, it enhances the property's value. I don't blame him for wanting to do it because it helps him out. But we got to look at our best interest. And where they had illegal people staying there before, or illegal apartment there before, we had numerous break-ins. We had find beer bottles and people smoking weed on the thing. We got little kids in the yard. So the proximity of it is such, it overlooks our backyard. So we feel strongly again about that. Thank you,
sir.
folks.
Thank you. And there's a, sir?
Kevin Walsh, my wife and I own 26 Prospect, which was the other sort of twin house on the other side. We're the other half of the shared driveway. First, we applaud the fact that someone has purchased this and is going to improve it. We support that. Our concern is been expressed by a number of the other folks up here. I'm glad to hear that the bathroom in the back, if it's approved, is going to be a half bath instead of a 3/4. Our concern mainly because of the shared driveway and the fact that it's very difficult to use. As you saw, the width of the driveway between the houses is really just a little bit more than a car width. You really can barely even open doors. So the parking happens at the very end, and everything stays clear. So you can fit 2 or 3 cars at the very back end of the driveway. And the concern that we have, again, not that Paul or his wife would do anything, but in the future, that back apartment could be an apartment or an Airbnb or something, which would just make that driveway use impossible. It was tough enough to manage before with just one person. Now, there's going to be 6 or 8 adults. Whether things are approved or not, they're going to be there, and the driveway is going to be an issue. So our concern is just that they're small lots, they're small houses, and if the burden is too great, then it does adversely impact our use. But that kind of is what it is. We do appreciate that it's a positive to the neighborhood, the fact that the house is being renovated. It's a very nice neighborhood. We've been there for about 8 years. My parents have been on Surf Drive for about 40 years, so we love the neighborhood. We like to see it, the character maintained in the same form as it is. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any other questions, comments, concerns regarding this project? Ma'am?
Peggy Davis, 55 Counting House Way. I am very much against the use of the garage for anything other than a garage, as was decided in the board's last decision. We had many, you said nightmare, that's the perfect word. That's what it was. It was awful. The structure is very close to our home, and the misuse caused us a great deal of stress. We were unable to use our back porch where we spent most of our time. It's a beautiful room. We love to sit out there. We couldn't use it. We were also, the upstairs bedroom became almost useless. It was like we couldn't use half of our house because of this garage, upstairs in the garage. I'm sure you have all good intentions, but we all know that good intentions sometimes don't work out that way. People move, people pass away, anything could happen. We've lived through having that garage be used for more than a garage, and I don't ever want to experience anything like that again. Both properties remain the same. Nothing's really changed. The proximity is still very close. I don't see any reason to change what the board has already decided in the past and has worked for many years. We've lived through what didn't work. We know what does work. And I really don't even feel comfortable with having any bathroom up there. I think it should be used as decided before as an auxiliary building for storage and/or parking. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else have any other questions, comments, concerns regarding this project? Okay. Mr. Rapucci, I don't know if you want to address any of the issues that were raised by the neighbors.
Who knew this project was so controversial? Let me state first off, the previous special permit was back in 1996, many years ago. My wife and I said I have 6 children. They're all adult children. 2 are in the armed forces. One's in the Army, one's in the Marines. They're not full-time children anymore. They come to visit occasionally. Okay, so there's not going to be 8 cars in the driveway or 8 cars in the road. So that's not a concern. I'm a professional. My wife's a lawyer. We're not asking for the garage to be rented. We're just simply asking it to use it as whatever we want, a home office or exercise room. And again, the special permit that said it couldn't be used was back in 1996. I'm fine with a half bath back there, if the board will allow that. We're not looking to flip this property. We're not looking to make a buck off of it. We're going to be living on the first floor during the summer and most of the year. So I don't know what to say. What happened in the past has nothing to do with me. I mean, obviously, the previous owner didn't live there. He rented it out. He rented out as much as he could, and the town of Falmouth didn't turn a blind eye to it. And if they were illegally renting it, then that's something that should have been reported. And I feel bad for you if you had to suffer through stuff, but we're not going to do that. We're going to use it for us and our family. So.
All right, thank you. Any additional questions from the board?
I just wanted to mention that The distance, in fact, is 2.5 feet from the lot line on the left side. It's less than 3.
All right. Any other questions for the applicant? No? All right. What would be the board's pleasure?
Would suggest discussion before, just to see what the appetite of the board is, only to see if the applicant, if it's not negative, to give the applicant the opportunity to withdraw or come back with something else that might be a little bit more palatable to the neighbors.
Sure, that's fair. Would you like to start us off, or?
I have concerns about whether or not the foundation is going to be able to structurally support any addition. Got concerns about, as I stated in the questions, about potential creep, given the history of the garage, and clearly after the concerns of the abutters and neighbors. I think I would be inclined to vote no, given that the current proposal, after some of the issues that have been raised by the abutters. So I'd like to give the applicant the opportunity, possibly withdraw, come back with something that might be a little bit more agreeable to the neighborhood and neighbors.
So just to clarify your position, is that
I'd be inclined to vote no.
no overall to the project?
Yes,
Okay.
in its current form.
And how about anyone else?
I'd be concerned about the foundations. But I think we can, as a board, we can say the use of the garage is agreed to. I think that would be acceptable.
I'm sorry, can you restate that about the garage?
Hmm?
Can you restate that?
What about the garage, Ed?
Well, that they do what they say, you're gonna make it a half bath and state that it can't be used for commercial use. They can be taken care of in a condition.
All right, so you would be leaning in favor with those
Yeah.
conditions? All right. And Mary?
Yeah, I have concerns, and one of them is, in reading the past decision, which was April 1996, but on your first slide, you had it up there, that allowed 2 separate dwellings, top floor, as you explained, and the bottom floor. It's a particularly small lot. It has a shared driveway issue. There's a parking issue involved there. The prior appeal mentioned specifically no use and no habitable space really for that top floor, and to remove the bathroom. I'm afraid, unfortunately, I applaud your efforts to make it a better looking interior, but I would be leaning towards a no.
A no overall. What if the applicant were to amend the application to eliminate, and I'm just throwing it out there, if he eliminated the use of the garage, no bath and no office space or anything proposed on the second floor, would that change anyone's mind?
It might for me. I think I'd be interested in the foundation aspect of it at that point.
Of the main house
Of the
supporting
main
the second
house.
floor?
Yeah.
Okay.
A letter from an engineer.
Sure, I can obtain a structural engineer and have him look at it, and I can come back with a recommendation that is more palatable to the neighbors, perhaps.
And I'm just trying to gauge the board for you, because if we were to vote and if it wasn't unanimous tonight, then it would fail and you wouldn't be able to come back to the board for 2 years. So I'm just trying to figure it out for you,
Okay.
what the board's feelings are. So James, what about the garage?
I think, going back to the original decision, I think that the plumbing shouldn't just be shut off, it needs to be removed. I'd like to take that out of the equation. I'd like to make sure that the neighbors' concerns are satisfied, that space, it's not clearly like being used as a garage, looking at the driveway and so on, but take any temptation that that's gonna get converted to any type of habitable space or usable space. It sounds, I applaud the applicant for being candid, that saying that the water's been shut off, but if the order said it was supposed to be removed, then it needs to be removed.
Okay. So what I'm hearing from everyone is that, and myself included, I had reservations, especially given the public comment regarding the garage. So if the applicant were able to obtain a letter certifying that they could properly build on that second floor, and if he was amenable to eliminating any proposed use of the garage, we would be leaning toward yes,
I would.
if we were to continue this.
Yeah,
All right. So just so you're understanding the board's thinking,
Yep.
if you're agreeable to eliminating any use of the garage, if that's just to remain as, I believe, storage space, and eliminating any sort of proposed bath on the garage, I think the board's leaning toward yes. And if you were able to give us a certified letter from an engineer?
Structural engineer.
Structural engineer, that the second floor of the main house, if the existing house can withhold that?
Yeah.
And the
You're, lo-
addition-
you're,
With the addition, yeah.
with the addition on
Yeah.
the main house, you're looking from a yes from the board.
Okay,
So
so,
just,
I do have another question. As this is looking, it's currently permitted as a multifamily, correct?
it is.
Okay.
Sure.
Is that something that can revert back to single-family, or are you looking to keep this as a multifamily?
I hadn't considered it. It's a two-family. I hadn't considered changing it to one family. I think the property is probably more valuable as a two-family. There are no two families in that area, and I think making it one family would devalue it.
All right. And that's well within your right to say that. So we are looking toward a continuation.
Okay.
For the next hearing, we would need that letter from a
That's fine.
certifying that that second half addition can be built. And if you're amenable to the garage having no proposed space in there with no,
Well, can I ask the board what, it is a second story of a garage. What would they be amenable to use of that space? I mean, clearly it's space that I would like, any homeowner would like to use as would be their right.
I would suggest you look at the previous decision.
right, so the previous decision conditioned that space as storage only.
Storage.
And I'm gathering from the board that's the way we would like to keep that, especially given, the previous decision and then
Well, the
the
previous-
concern of the abutters.
The previous decision says the only plumbing allowed in the detached garage will be a sink and/or a spigot in the first floor. Bathroom fixtures presently on the second floor should be removed. That's per the original decision, 25 years ago.
That's correct. That was, and the plumbing has been removed. The bathroom is not functioning today. And I think, that was a condition of him, of the previous owner getting it as a second family the condition was to remove that illegal apartment that he had. So,
I thought before you mentioned that that the fixtures were still on the second floor, they had just been disconnected.
the plumbing had been severed. The plumbing has been severed in the garage. The fixtures have been removed. I had them removed because there was water damage that we had to do some work to. So the plumbing fixtures have been removed, as a matter of fact.
All right. Anything else from the board? Okay, so we are looking at a continuation. If you could get us that letter for the next hearing, that would be much appreciated.
Okay?
And as for another date, guess we're looking at March 19th again? You think you'd be able to get everything
Yes.
by March 19th?
Yes.
Okay. Would anyone like to make that motion then?
I'll move we continue the hearing to March 19th.
Second.
Okay, motion was made by James and second by Ed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, and up next, we have application 91-19, Cumberland Farms, 400 East Falmouth Highway and 8 Old Meeting House Road. Before the hearing opens, I'll be recusing myself, appointing Bob as acting chair and Ed as clerk once again. My law firm represents a client in a case that's currently in pre-litigation status. It involves the existing Cumberland Farms property as it stands at 400 East Falmouth Highway. I made that disclosure, provided the paperwork to Noreen, and in order for the board to remain fair and impartial, I will be recusing myself from this hearing. So, Bob has it as acting chair, and Ed has it as clerk, and I'll see you guys shortly.
All set?
Yep, go ahead.
There being all persons deemed affected by the Board of Appeals under Section 11 of Chapter 40A of the Massachusetts General Laws, you are hereby notified that Cumberland Farms, Inc. of Westboro, Massachusetts, applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit pursuant to Sections 240-3C, 240-212, and 240-18.1 of the Code of Falmouth to remove buildings on both properties and rebuild the motor vehicle service station and convenience store, subject properties known as 400 East Falmouth Highway and 8 Old Meeting House Road, East Falmouth, Mass. Plans from the engineering go on for 3 pages here. Conservation Commission inside their jurisdiction. Planning applicant filed a special permit app for the planning board. Parking in the front yard. The hearing was scheduled on 14th of January. Health Department, no issues. Health will need to review the complete septic design and issue a permit for the installation. Fire Department, no comment. Assessors, no comment. That's it.
So for the applicant?
Good evening. My name is Doug Troyer. I represent Cumberland Farms. With me tonight is the project engineer, John Reschlin and also with me is Maureen Chilbeck from McMahon and Associates. This is concerning property located at 400 East Falmouth Highway as well as 8 Old Meeting House Road. Cumberland Farms is seeking a couple things. The first is a special permit pursuant to the multiple use bylaw. Currently, there is a existing gas station and convenience store use on the property. We are looking to purchase, on the existing plan here, we are looking to purchase 8 Old Meeting House Road as well, which is currently an oil company. As a result of having a multiple use, or continue to have a multiple use under your bylaw, we need to come before you in order to get that multiple use special permit. We are also looking for a special permit for max lot coverage. Currently, it's pre-existing non-conforming at 16.7%. We are reducing and making it less non-conforming, bringing it down to 13.7%. There are also prior special permits on the 400 East Falmouth Highway lot concerning the gas station as well as the convenience store. So we're looking for some certain modifications in connection with prior special permits that have been issued in this. Currently, the subject property is comprised of 2 existing parcels totaling 1.1 acres. It's located at northwest corner of East Falmouth Highway and Old Meeting House Road. Both sites are actually, the site is located within the B2 zoning district and is abutted by a residential use to the north and west and commercial uses to the south and west.
Like I indicated, the 8 Old Meeting House Road was most recently occupied by Wen Oil Company and contains 2 buildings providing an office and garage space and associated paved concrete driveway and parking areas. The Cumberland Farms site is an existing motor vehicle station that was allowed by this board in 1981. It currently contains 4 dual-side fuel dispensers, 1 diesel dispenser, all of which are under a canopy structure. In 1995, the board granted a special permit to allow the gas station to include a retail convenience store, and the property has been utilized as both a convenience store and gas station since 1995. In 2001, this board granted a special permit for the installation of a canopy over the existing gas islands and made certain modifications, conditions that were subject to existing permits. Cumberland, as you know, or don't know, Cumberland has pretty much for the last 5 years has been looking at old dated sites, and they've been going around the country, Massachusetts, New York, Connecticut, down to Florida, and they're really trying to bring their new prototype into the market. Cumberland Farms, I think about 2 or 3 years ago, was able to permit and update their T-Ticket store off the T-Ticket site. This site has come up as a very good location to kind of bring this site and this location up into the current standards. In order to really do the new prototype, it was necessary for Cumberland Farms to look at purchasing the rear property. So in essence, we are under a purchase and sale agreement with the owners of that, contingent upon our permitting. And in essence, what Cumberland Farms is looking to do, bear with me, I apologize. So in essence, what Cumberland Farms is looking to do is to raise the existing structures, not only on the Cumberland Farms site, but also on the Wen Oil site. They are looking to construct a new building that is 4,384 square feet. We're looking to continue to provide self-service gasoline sales to its customers. Currently, we have 4 pumps. We were in front of this planning board, I think October, November, ended in December. We went through some reiterations of the site plan and ended up reducing the pumps down to 3, primarily to continue to provide, this site over the existing conditions provides substantial upgrades and safety and maneuvering and everything on the site. And by reducing it down to 4, which we were willing to do, it really opened up the ability to address any traffic concerns which were raised on the site. We are actually upgrading, installing the tanks that are on the underground storage tanks. They're going to be 2 20,000-gallon double-wall fiberglass underground storage tanks, and they meet all applicable EPA regulations. In essence, we're taking the old tanks and updating them into today's standards. I have currently filed an application with the fire department, which they have signed off on. I'm now waiting for a hearing in March before the Board of Selectmen on an underground storage tank license. We are also looking to, the proposed site is served by municipal water, a proposed subsurface sewage disposal system. We're also installing protective bollards at the parking spaces to the front side of the convenience store. We are providing the appropriate number, exceeding the amount of parking that's necessary by providing 24 parking spaces. And we are dramatically enhancing landscaping on the subject property, along with screening of the neighborhood properties as well. We have also, because we went through some reiterations with the planning board, we were able to address every engineering comment that was raised. We were able to basically address every single one of them. One of them was to install a beehive-style grate to the yard drain, and we're also installing protective barriers around infiltration areas and installing a freestanding sign. An issue that's come up after planning board is we were originally proposing to put our freestanding sign here. As we all know, and as I have learned, Falmouth has a very strict sign bylaw. So we are actually going to be going back to the planning board for a minor modification. We're actually taking down the freestanding sign that we were originally looking at because it was definitely not within the requirements of bylaw. And because we are on corner lots, we're looking at doing a sign here and a sign on the top right-hand corner as well. I'll be needing to make a motion to the planning board to make certain modifications to make those adjustments. And that's really the only changes in the plans that we're looking to do from the approved plans from the planning board. We, just to give you a sense, currently this is the site. As you can see, it's definitely a very dated Cumberland Farms location. In the rear, you can see the oil company in the rear as well. There's been substantial remediation, which Cumberland Farms has done on that property. We have basically, are in the process, and my understanding is that we have basically accommodated the cleanup operations on that site. As you will see from the renderings, the proposed location is the new prototype for Cumberland Farms. It is a colonial style, very attractive looking prototype building that we believe fits in very well on the Cape. I have done projects from Bourne all the way to Wellfleet, and these prototypes are really, our boards have, and the abutters have seemed to be very happy with these prototypes that Cumberland Farms is producing these days. It's a much needed improvement to some of the older stuff that has been out there. The only change from this rendering is because of the signs, we are actually removing this one. We're looking to maintain this one, but have reduced the size. That is also another minor modification that I'm going to be looking for from the planning board. Another view from the street. This canopy looks very large in this rendering. The reason for that is when we originally put this rendering together, we had 4 pumps. We have reduced the size of the canopy and also have reduced the number of pumps on this site. This was a concern for traffic flow, and we were willing to basically make those changes to take away and alleviate any on-site traffic safety issues. We have presented, actually, the other thing I did want to show you, I apologize. There we go. Where am I? What's the landscape plan? What number? Oh, we got a color version of landscape. .1? I apologize. Okay. So as you can see, landscaping, we've really taken landscaping into consideration on this plan. We are looking to do arborvitaes and trees all along across the property, as well as add landscaping in the front here to make it a much more attractive site to blend in with some of the other properties that the town has been improving over the last several years. We really did take a look at some of the stores, like CVS that was approved, some other stores that have been approved, and really we're guided by the planning board to really, do our best with landscaping. We feel that we really have here on this site. We've also provided a traffic impact study. We've also provided stormwater management. I have Maureen here to answer, or if the board wants to hear some traffic information, I'm glad to have her make a presentation, or if your board just wish to have questions, that's fine as well. That in essence is the multi-use portion of the request. Cumberland Farms is looking to maintain the multi-use that it has, but make dramatic improvements to the site, which we believe will be very beneficial to the town and to the neighborhood. The other request that Cumberland Farms is looking for, as I mentioned before, is a special permit pursuant to 240 Section 3C concerning the pre-existing non-conforming max lot coverage. Currently, as you can see, the existing max lot coverage is I believe it's 16.7%. We are reducing that down to 13.7%, and we're requesting relief from this board for a special permit to allow us to be just north of the 12% that is required. And because we are actually reducing a prior existing nonconformity, we will request this board to grant that special permit. Finally, in connection with certain conditions in which were identified in the board's most recent decision, which is April 11, 2011, we're seeking modifications to condition number 1, which dealt with the canopy. Condition number 1 in that special permit provided that the canopy shall be constructed substantially as shown with that approved plan, because we are actually looking to reduce it from 4 to 3 and also provide the more updated canopies, which have the dramatically improved lights that stay on the property. Because a big problem what you have on these older sites is the spraying of the lights. On this property, these lights focus down, and the canopy lights and LEDs have been designed to keep as much, if not everything, on site as much as possible. I'm not sure if it's necessary for us to actually request a modification, but because that condition was specifically there, we are requesting that that provision be modified to the existing plans. There's also an hours of operation condition that was imposed on Cumberland Farms. Condition 3 in the April 11, 2011 special permit provides that gasoline delivery shall be made between the hours of 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Cumberland is proposing to operate this site 24 hours a day and is seeking to expand the time period for gasoline deliveries from 12 p.m. to 6 a.m. The proposed change to the 24-hour operation, in essence, it extends and provides more convenient times for deliveries and access for the useful services for the town and neighborhood. As a result, we are hoping that this board will allow this store to be a 24-hour operation and extend the time periods for deliveries. There's also a condition on retail deliveries, to which we are also looking to modify as requested in our application. And then there's also a condition number 6. There was a condition that we are unable to put a sign on the canopy. All Cumberland Farms prototypes around the country and in Massachusetts have, do I have that?
So this is on the 2011 permit?
The 2011 permit?
Is that, you're talking about April of 2011?
Yeah. Yeah, if you look at the April 2011,
I don't seem to have April 2011.
it's Exhibit 1 to my application. And maybe it is
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
or condition number 6. Oh, I apologize. It's a carryover from the exhibit number 2. There was 2 decisions in 2001. This is the second decision.
All right, so do all these refer to the 2001? I just want to make sure. I'm
That
on the
is
right
correct,
page
yes.
here.
They're referring to the 2001, but there's 2 decisions in 2001.
Okay.
This refers to appeal number 1-01, and it's condition number 6. There should be no sign on the canopy. Any signage on the property shall comply with the sign bylaw. As I indicated, we are in the process of filing with the building inspector and ultimately with the sign design committee, the updated sign plans of which we're looking to do. But before we did so, I wanted to come before this board to see if that condition could be removed so that we can put the typical sign on the canopy that we normally do. And for some reason, I didn't put that on the plan. John, which one did you say it was? Thank you, sir. So If you look at the very bottom of this, basically is the Cumberland Farms sign is the green and the white. We actually were looking originally to do 2. We have taken this one off at this point and are only looking to do 1. And I believe I do have a colored version of this, which is much better for you guys to see. No, I apologize. That was the one I did not download from my file, so I apologize for that. Those are the modifications which we're looking for, which are set forth in my application. We are more than willing to have our traffic engineer provide any information if this board would like, or we can just turn it over to questions and respond to any questions which this board may have.
Would the
Whatever
board like to hear
board's
from the
preference.
traffic engineer briefly first? Yes, no, maybe? I guess we'll just go on to questions then.
Yeah.
I have no questions.
No questions? Ed?
Has there been any indication of any problems of oil spills or fuel spills on either piece of property?
On the other piece of property, and that's why I was trying to figure out what he recused himself on. The other piece of property, I am not aware of, my understanding is that we went through your town's Concom, and I believe we went through somebody else. When I had to go through site plan, we got a comment letter as to whether or not Cumberland Farms had gone through the steps in which were required of us. We did a full 21E, a full review, hired outside counsel. That was fully vetted, and it's my understanding that we have done the necessary cleanup of that oil business that we are purchasing, and have done so even before we've purchased the property. I think the owner of that property is also involved in that, and that may be, there may be some dispute between the current owner and somebody else, but my understanding is that that site has been
That's all on
appropriately
the Wynn
cleaned up
property?
pursuant to the
That's all
town
on
and
the-
DEP.
That's all on the Wynn property?
The Wynn property?
Or the
Yes.
pro-
Which would be the
Yeah.
following.
Yeah. So there isn't, because it was an oil company and had been around a very long time, there's definitely some cleanup. And as a result, before we even came to, for permitting to the planning board, we went through the whole process. And there has been, your town departments, I believe, can comment on exactly what the cleanup measures were. If the board would like to see the actual memos and submissions that I submitted to the planning board to prove that the statements which I'm making, I'm more than happy to
No,
provide
no,
those
as
as
long
well.
as it was done.
My understanding is that we, and also according to the town, have complied with what was necessary in order to clean that up. That's my understanding.
Okay. You own the property in the corner now?
We own the front property, and
Okay.
have owned that property for some time. We are in a P&S agreement for the rear property, contingent upon this purchase.
That's the only question I have.
Mary?
Yeah, I'm interested in that very topic that you've just discussed, with the remediation and the cleanup operations.
Yep.
And if there are already documents that are with planning,
We
then-
had to submit there was a question from the engineer. Do you recall? I believe there's a question from the engineer's report. I had to provide a supplemental response to it, and in addition, I provided to, I can't remember what her name was, and I apologize, but we provided documentation of the 21Es from our engineering company to the planning board and got an email back from the department of the town that was addressing that, saying that Cumberland Farms, that they were satisfied with what Cumberland Farms had done.
And
I
do
can-
you just know generally, were there underground tanks, oil tanks there? Because when I went to the site, it appeared to me that there would be leftover oil tanks underneath there, because it looked like.
Whatever was there, as my
yeah.
understanding, has now been removed. Whatever was there has now been removed. That is 100% certain. And there has been a full cleanup of it. I don't have that report in front of me. But I know for a fact that this was addressed in front of the planning board, and we definitely did provide information to the town demonstrating that we were in compliance with what they were requiring us to do for the cleanup on that site. And if you bear with me.
Sure. I
have
guess,
that binder with me,
I guess
unfortunately.
all I would do is ask you to submit it to us so that we could see that.
That's not a problem.
Yeah.
It's not a problem.
Thank you very much.
On the delivery time, so what's the issue with the deliveries? Are you looking for just specific time?
We're looking to have,
or-
yeah, we're looking to have 24-hour operation here. In connection with the deliveries, we are specifically requesting because we can only do deliveries from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. It really does cause a wrinkle into not only the tanker trucks, but also the retail delivery. So we were looking to move it from 12 p.m. to 6 a.m., which would allow for us to basically get an additional 6 hours of deliveries during regular business hours instead of completely having it after business hours. We are willing to avoid, basically at that point, you're looking at afternoon peak times. That would be the only time periods that we'd be willing to try and avoid if possible. But at this point, based on our traffic analysis, we believe that a 24-hour operation with delivery times between 12 p.m. and 6 a.m. Would work. Also, because of the size of the store and the way in which Cumberland Farms is doing it, they have been able to reduce the amount of deliveries because these stores have a dramatic amount of storage in them, whereby the older stores, there's really no storage at all. So because of the size of the store and the amount of storage in which we were able to put into these stores, we are able to cut back on the deliveries. We have, and normally we do have morning hour deliveries, but do understand the concern. But in this situation, we will be looking for a little bit more leniency from the afternoon, from at least starting from 12 p.m.
So as years progresses with a lot of these projects, we've just had issues through the town in general because trucks get bigger, you get more deliveries, you get more stuff. So in our bylaw, we have 240-108-1C, and we've been looking at this a lot lately, and what they're looking for is that an area on the site where you can have a 14 by 45 space, so that if a delivery truck does pull up, can pull up on the site and back out without blocking anything or backing up into a...
Can you talk to that?
For the record, John Marchand from Farland Corp., with a civil engineer for the project. You can see to the north side of the building, there's a screened dumpster area. The area in front of that, the concrete pad, serves as the delivery area, unloading area. There are no parking spaces in front of that. I don't know I believe it's, I want to say it's at least 25 feet from the front of the dumpsters.
So your
to the-
deliveries then would come off the old Meeting House Road side?
Yeah, they would back up into that area, so they'd probably come in.
So my question is, just let's pretend you're a truck.
Sure.
If you're going into the site, how would you go in, how would you back in, and how would you get out?
If you're making a delivery, you'd probably pull into this southerly entrance on Old Meeting House Road,
Yeah.
pull up, and then back into the delivery area.
Okay, so if they're, so they pull up straight and then, I guess, how do they back into that space, I guess is my question.
So they would, I guess they would pull into the.
So one of the issues with this one bylaw is that, so when a truck does come in, and you may have areas they have to back up in, is that if they have to back in an area to get out, they're not, again, backing up to block traffic or get onto the main road. So they kind of look like a flow space.
Right.
You may not use it all the time, but you may want to look into just showing that somewhere on the plan, that there is a space, that they could come in and out parking without backing up anyway onto the main road or into traffic.
Do you know?
There's probably area on there.
Let me show you what we have.
I think there's a drawing here that shows the trucks.
Yeah,
Yeah, let me show you our
back they have it.
vehicle circulation plans. Why is it not opening? Oh, it's
I
damaged.
saw it in here.
I know I provided it in my materials.
Yeah, I saw it in the drawing package.
You gotta love technology.
So the one that I looked at in the file looked like it was coming in the front entrance off of East Falmouth Highway and just circling back out again.
So in essence, we have vehicles. The fuel truck delivery plan basically has trucks coming in through here, coming around. This is the fueling position stations here, coming out and going this way, as you can see. We also did circulation plans that should be in your packages for motor homes, which basically demonstrated the ability for those size of vehicles. We took the largest vehicles we possibly could. A fuel tanker truck, as well as a motor home, as well as a vehicle bringing, towing a boat. And basically having them come in this way and being able to make the maneuver safely on and off of the site. In this area here, we are having certain retail deliveries that will come into here. They will park in this area and basically exit the site. We did not perform circulation plans in connection with that.
Yeah, so as I'm saying, so when you get a chance, look at 240-108-1C. It's very specific what's required. And I'm sure you-
248-101C?
Yeah, so it's 240-108, and it's 1C. And it's our loading requirements, and it basically deals with loading and delivery trucks, and it actually requires that there be a space at least 14 feet by 45 feet long, sufficient area to allow trucks and vehicles entering and leaving the lot to do so without backing out on the public ways. And it's something that we've hit a lot now. And you have enough room on this site, so there probably is somewhere to accommodate it. I just want to make sure that it is, because we're getting issues on other sites where you have to back into the main roads, and there is no turnaround space.
That's fine. So we can submit a revised plan that basically identifies
Well,
what
just
that
to
area
show
would be.
that, and then I had the same questions of Mary, so you're gonna put in all the engineering on the E21. Have you, I know you've reviewed the engineering comments, so are there any of the engineering comments that you haven't complied with?
No. Correct?
That's all I have.
So far, I've
Here's the
got
drawing.
21E information on the cleanup on the old meeting house. Look at 240-108-1C, identify areas in which we can.
And then you've got the delivery schedule, so are there any times where you do, one of the previous decisions, they seem to be concerned with where
seem to
goods
be
are
concerned
delivered
with-
at the same time as gas? Is that ever an issue, or?
Gas is tough because it's by need. You can't, it's basically by need. Just how busy that week could be, wintertime obviously it's not gonna be as busy as the summertime. So gas is kind of by need. Vendors, Cumberland Farms can control its own Cumberland Farm product. They have full control over that. The Pepsi, the Fritos, the chips, things on those lines, there needs to be kind of a time period because they are not just coming to our site. They are going to numerous sites and delivering. So that's why we kind of asked for a little bit more of a window to afford us the opportunity to get those deliveries in and out of this project. Plus, this project is going to be a little bit larger of a store, so therefore we're going to have more product, and would like to not have every vendor on site at the same time delivering, so as to avoid, safety on the site.
What are you looking at, like, construction schedule time, like start to
Usually takes
finish?
about 4 months to do these, once we get in and out.
4 months for the whole job?
Usually about 4 months. It's about what they've been doing them.
Oh, that's
Unless you
good.
get a winter of 2015, then it's more of an
Yeah,
8 month, 9 month. type
The
thing.
4 months sounds efficient, so.
Yeah,
It's
good.
usually about a 4 month project. You do run into some hiccups, but that's kind of the standard of what I've been informed to instruct boards, that's what they seek to do, is about 4 months.
What's your expected time to start?
If this was
Assuming all the-
possible, we'd be looking at, see, the only reason I am scratching my head is because Cumberland Farms was just recently purchased in October by
that right?
another company. So I would normally tell you probably within 3-4 months after decision. But at this point, I would think they're probably going to stay along the same track. We'd want to get in before the summer if we could, obviously, for a lot of reasons. So I think if this was approved, this project would be fast-tracked to try and get going as soon as we possibly could.
Okay. I finally found the drawing that for the fuel truck deliveries.
Yes.
It's on the last page almost. This shows that everything coming in and out on the Route 28.
Yes.
I thought you were gonna be going up on the side, up in here.
That's Old
Want
Meeting
to talk to
House.
that?
Yeah,
Maybe you could just also, just give us overview on traffic, just for people at home that have questions on traffic numbers.
Sure. Maureen Schlebeck with McMahon Associates. First, to speak to the deliveries. So the deliveries are up in the back, as John
okay,
was
that's
mentioning
not what this
before.
shows.
Yeah, and so the truck turn templates that are in that package, the first two relate to the fuel tanker truck, and then the next two, as Doug was explaining, we were asked to provide, to show how a truck towing a boat could get into the site and actually get to a gas pump, and we also did a motor home. So we don't have a drawing that shows the delivery truck at the back of the store, but we can produce that. And so if you'd like, I'll give you a brief
Just a
summary.
brief overview on
Yeah,
traffic
and then
generation.
whatever you want me to go into more detail, just let me know. So our company did the traffic study for this site. We did it back last spring, so it's a little bit old at this point. But typically, as we do these studies, we look at three components. First, we assess the existing conditions. Then we project future conditions for a no-build and build scenario. And then lastly, we look at the operations of the site internally and on the surrounding street system. So when we did the existing conditions, we did a field inventory of the street network and the surrounding streets to the site. We did collect turning movement counts out there. We collected counts on a Thursday in May from 7 to 9 a.m. and 4 to 6 p.m. And we chose these times because that's when both the site and the roadways are peaking. We found the peak hours to be 8 to 9 a.m. and 4:15 to 5:15 p.m. We took those counts and seasonally adjusted them to represent more of the summer traffic, so they were all increased by 8%. The May counts were increased. We also conducted a speed study and found the speeds to be approximately 36 miles per hour in the northbound direction and 34 miles per hour in the southbound direction on average. And we looked at the crash history at this intersection and at the intersections of the driveways at the site. We did a 7-year period from 2012 to 2018. And so I'm going to break this down because, as many of you probably know, there have been improvements at the signalized intersection. So if you look at 2014 to 2016, this intersection was actually identified as a high crash location. And from that identification came some improvements, namely the exclusive left turn lanes in either direction on Route 28. And when we look at the crashes after those improvements were made, they did go down. So, while the crash history was above average, now with these improvements, it's come down. Next, we went ahead and started to project out to a 7-year condition. We consulted the Cape Cod Commission for a growth rate, and they advised us to use 0.5% per year for background traffic growth. We coordinated with the town to find out if there are any specific developments in the area that needed to be included in our study, and we were informed that there were not. So with that, we were able to come up with our projected no-build traffic conditions. And then we estimated the amount of traffic that would be generated from this site. And to do this, we use information that's published by the Institute of Transportation Engineers. They collect data nationally for a variety of land uses. The land use that was applied in this case is a super convenience market with a gas station. And so what we did is we looked at the size of the store that's there now and the size that's proposed to be there, and we took the difference of what's expected to be generated and added that to the amount of traffic that's currently being generated. And so with that, the proposed site would have 112 trips in the morning and 112 out, and then in the afternoon peak hour, it's 92 trips in, 92 out. But what you need to consider is a lot of that traffic is traffic that's already on the surrounding street network. It's what we call pass-by traffic. So Generally, people don't leave their house and go to Cumberland Farms and come home. They're generally going someplace else and happen to stop along the way. So when we account for pass-by trips and the delta in the size of the buildings, what we're seeing in terms of new trips in the morning is 16 in and 17 out. In the afternoon, it's 11 in and 11 out. So the site is actually a low generator in terms of new traffic. So with that, the trips were assigned to the surrounding street system using the same patterns that are demonstrated today. And then we started to look at operations and say, what is the delay of the signalized intersections and at the driveways? And what we do is we term it in terms of level of service, and we rate it A through F, where level of service D is kind of like what you designed to. It's not similar to grades in school. What we found is that the signalized intersection has an overall level service of D or better in the future year under both the no-build and build conditions. So there's really no discernible change from the additional traffic at this site. And the driveways were found to have adequate levels of service as well. And then the last thing we did was to look at the site distance at the proposed driveways. And I should have mentioned previously that the site currently has 2 driveways on Route 28, and one of them is really in close proximity to the signal. The proposed plan calls for 1 driveway, which, you know, as a traffic engineer, is a much better situation. So the driveways are planned well in terms of where they're located on the site. Internally, you can circulate the site well. There's enough space in between the pumps. And as we've demonstrated, bring in unusual vehicles into the site, they can maneuver and get to the pumps and all. The driveways have adequate site distance. And it's a low generator. There's no difference in the delay on the surrounding street system. So with all of that, we were able to conclude that there is not a substantial impact to the surrounding street system. So
Thank you.
I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
No.
Oh, okay, so I was just curious, with your drawings, you aren't showing the fuel truck circulation going towards town, and the pickup truck with the boat circulation plan, you're not showing that going onto the highway, Falmouth Highway, in both directions like you are for the motorhome. I was just curious as to why.
So honestly, we did a series of about 20, right? As we were working with the planning board, we did a whole series of ins and outs in all different directions. This was the sampling of the more complicated movements that we provided. If there's others that you want to see, honestly, we probably have them done already.
I'm just curious because I suppose if you're going with a 52-plus foot truck, fuel truck out of there, if they're going to go towards town, not in the direction you have them going, but in the other direction, how they're going to be able to get out of there. That was my
So, you know, assuming you have the same ones I have in front of me, the fuel truck circulation plan, Route A,
yes,
shows the truck coming in.
yes.
It would be coming westbound on Route 28,
Right.
and when it leaves, it returns eastbound.
So it would have to
So-
go that way, right? It couldn't come in the other direction.
That's my question.
Well, okay, so the reason it's coming in that way, if you see where the tanks are, where it's loading, for the safety of the driver and the tank, you always want you want to unload in a protected manner. So we want the truck positioned facing down towards Route 28 so that all the action is happening away from anyone coming into the site. It's almost like the truck shields what's happening where they're loading into the tank. It's safer for the person doing the loading, and it's safer for people coming into the site, that there's not a man standing next to the fuel tanker truck that
No,
could be hit.
I'm not so sure that I'm being clear. I'm talking about when they're exiting. Is that what you were talking about? When they're
Well,
exiting
I'm
out
saying-
of the station onto 28?
Yeah, we've shown them going in each direction when they
I
exit.
only see them going in one direction, which would give them the greatest ability to pull out. If they were going to turn right from the station, exiting, that would be
Could
my
I
only-
approach and show her the two that I
Sure.
have? Would that be okay? So in this case, we enter,
Yeah, this one we don't have,
you don't have, okay.
not for the field truck.
So, yeah, in that case, it came in and unloaded
So they're-
here, and then it leaves.
So they're not staying in their lane, is that correct?
Well, they're on the channelized, they're on the painted island, they're not in the other travel lane. And this, so this is the wheel line, and this is the overhang of the green line.
So exiting here, they're crossing the incoming lane?
No, because you've got this channelized, it's like a painted island area.
Yeah.
They're crossing the painted island area, they're not into the other travel lane.
No, I'm talking about the entrance. You've got you got an arrow going in and an arrow going out.
Yes,
So to get out, they actually have to cross over the arrow that's coming in.
yes.
Maybe you could just submit those just for the file, the other drawings.
Yeah, 'cause they're-
Give you all of them. We went through this at the planning board, so I completely
Mar-
understand.
might as well just- yeah.
I want to see it as well. so
You might as well
that's fine.
just put them all in.
Yeah, I tried to put the best of the crop to really identify what the issues were before, so that's no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the board?
Thank you.
Well, I'll say it, but nobody's here. Is there any questions in the audience? So Noreen, what are we looking for continuation date?
We'll wait 3-5.
Do you know when you'll be done with the planning board by chance?
I'm done with the planning
Oh,
board.
you are.
Oh, I gotta have to go back. I'm gonna speak with Mr. Bott beginning of next week, and I'm hoping all I need to do is submit the revised plans and just have a meeting at their next meeting. So I'm hoping sometime early March I can get in front of them. If they find it substantial, which I don't think they will, given the fact that it's just relocation of some signs, then I gotta do a public hearing and it will take much longer, but, so I'm hoping my conversation with Mr. Bott next week will express that. I am looking to go, I was told March 9th or March 23rd for the UST, in front of the Board of Selectmen. So I'm definitely into March, early April at this point.
So what do we have?
Okay.
So then, I make a motion to continue to March 19.
Second it.
And I will submit those 4 items to you all prior to that, obviously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
It's funny, I've been bringing 2 bags with me, and the one time you asked me questions about something I don't have it. Yes, thank you.
And the chairman is back.
I am. I was watching live in the FCTV control room. Everyone looked fantastic.
It's
and
nice in there. The TV's
It is. Everyone speak clearly and loudly into the microphones. All right, so we have our open meeting agenda items. We have the minutes from January 23rd, 2020. Has everyone had a chance to review them?
Yes.
All right, any modifications to be made?
No.
Or does anyone want to make a motion?
So I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of January 23rd.
Second.
Okay, motion was made by Bob, and second, I'll give that to James. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We already took care of item number 2, and board discussion. Is there any board discussion for tonight?
I guess the only thing I would say is, and it's going to be, we've talked about this before, is just that we need to really finalize our issues with peer reviews on 40B projects.
Right.
And I know that the engineering is something we've already discussed, which is fine, but I think at this point, we may want to expand that.
All right, so that's taking I know we approved the changes to our 40B procedures last week, and that'll be taking a deeper look into all that upcoming. All right, anything else for board discussion? All right, board updates, is there anything?
A reminder, I will be in Ireland on 3-5. I will hoist a glass of Guinness for you all.
Oh, cheers to that. All right, anything else? Future agenda items? Okay, seeing none, our next hearing is here in Town Hall, 6:30, March 5th. Meeting adjourned.